Hey, Com 215. Owen here. It's one of the smallest instruments ever made, yet its sound has traveled farther than most. From campfires to street corners to radio waves and concert halls, the harmonica has followed people wherever they've gone. It's a story that isn't just about music, it's about migration, invention, and expression. To understand how this humble instrument came to shape entire genres and generations, we have to start at the very beginning. 3,000 years ago, an instrument called the sheng was created in China. They utilized vibrating reeds to create musical notes. Inhaling or exhaling air into this instrument while covering up the holes in its surface created musical notes and chords. While the sheng was the first instrument that we know of to utilize this technique, the same concept resurfaced 3,000 years later in early 1800s in Vienna. An instrument that could play notes and chords by inhaling and exhaling air into the mechanism, this instrument is known nowadays as the harmonica. But here's the strange part. Between Han Dynasty China and 19th century Europe, the idea of assorted vibrating reeds creating tones was forgotten, just rediscovered and reinvented entirely on the other side of the world. But this raises the question, how did one of the smallest instruments become one of the loudest voices in history? At its conception, harmonicas were cheap and mass-produced, crossing the Atlantic Ocean in crates and landing in America during the peak of westward expansion, where they were used by cowboys and railroad workers. And by the late 1800s, harmonicas were everywhere. They were small enough to fit in your pocket and cheap enough that you didn't need to worry about being good or bad. As America industrialized, the harmonica traveled wherever the people did. Immigrants carried them across oceans, soldiers carried them into camps and trenches, and by the early 20th century, the harmonica had embedded itself in American folk culture. By the 1920s and 30s, the harmonica had become a fixture in juke joints, street corners, and front porches. Players like DeFord Bailey brought it to the Nashville radio station WSM's Grand Ole Opry. And with the invention of the microphone, harmonicas could finally compete with the likes of electric guitars and drum kits. Nowhere was this transformation more profound than the American South. The harmonica found a new voice in the hands of black musicians, who shaped what would become the blues. And as blues music traveled north during the Great Migration, so did the harmonica. In cities like Chicago and Detroit, it evolved alongside electric blues. What began as a folk instrument had found its place in the modern music world. By the mid-20th century, a new generation of players began pushing the harmonica beyond its traditional limits. Musicians like Little Walter revolutionized the instrument by cupping it with a microphone and amplifier and intentionally overdriving the sound to create a gritty, distorted tone. This technique transformed the harmonica into a lead instrument capable of cutting through loud bands and forever changing the sound of urban blues, and influencing countless musicians who followed. As blues and rock music gained mainstream popularity, the harmonica was crossed into new genres. Artists like Sonny Boy Williamson and Toots Thielemans and Bob Dylan brought the instrument to wider audiences, blending folk traditions with modern songwriting. Today, the harmonica is still a symbol of simplicity and self-expression. It is often one of the first instruments people learn, but it can take a lifetime to truly master. From ancient reeds in China to modern concert stages, the harmonica's journey shows how a small pocket-sized instrument can carry powerful emotions in the voice of everyday people.